G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel. It's been a bit quiet on the video front in autumn at the moment. Not much to actually film and work on while I wait for the leaves to drop off my trees and etc. I've got a few other videos I'll do. I just got to find time for them, but I thought I'd do a quick update on how my seedlings are going, my Trident maple seedlings are going, and some of the experiments we did last year, I think around winter last year. Just thought I'd give you a nice little update because unfortunately you forget about lots of things in the garden when you're working on other trees, and seedlings don't really get a high priority. But what I did, I wanted to show you this one. This is where I actually fused or put 3 very similar sized seedlings. Now let me try and come in close. Hopefully you guys can see. Yeah, so it's not too bad there, the viewpoint. So you can see I tried to put 3 seedlings together, and I wired them into a position and twisted them up. So maybe you can see how that's nicely forming around and curled up, and I left the tops alone. Now the actual wire is starting to cut in to those trunks. So I think it might have held its shape around the bottom down here. So that's really cool. Like, it's actually made a nice twisting, interesting shape. So it kind of has worked. Just got to give it a bit more time, I think. Maybe another year. I'm not going to touch the roots. I'm not going to touch anything. I might just take that wire off just to see if it will hold in place. Possibly rewire it just to keep the shape again. But it's actually worked out nicely. I'm not too fussed with the wire cutting in. That should grow out quite quickly with such young seedlings. But I think it's important not to touch the roots at all, and just let it grow one more year and see how it all fuses. And it could have a nice little twisty trunk, which has formed quite well. So that's a nice little, that's just taking, whilst the plane flies over, that's just taking 3 seedlings, putting them together, wiring them together, and they fuse quite well. I mean, I don't know if you can see closely, see how the wire's cutting in certain areas. So I think that might have held. So I might actually just see what it looks like. I'm going to take the wire off and just see if it holds. I'm not going to touch, I'm trying not to touch this bit, or might have to. Let me take it all and see if actually it's held its shape, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so we're just going to do that whilst you guys are watching. Now I'm going to unwire it because I might use the same wire just to put it back on. So it's coming apart a little bit at the top. So they're starting to come apart at the top, which isn't too bad. I'm not worried about that much. Just want to see what the first little bits look like down here, whether they've fused well enough and it's holding. Now the shapes, I can tell what's happening is the shapes form, but the trunks haven't fused. So I really want the trunks to fuse, and that hasn't really happened. But I don't want the wire to cut in the same spot too much, so I'm going to just take this off and just going to reposition the wire. So probably just use the same wire. So the shapes held really well, but the trunks haven't fused together. Even though the trunks, some of the trunks are cutting in, they haven't fused. So I'm just going to take this. The shape's nice. That's a positive. So in a way I could leave them alone and not rewire, but I think they'll grow out of shape. So I need to reapply the wire. So I'm just going to reposition this, and lucky the contours are the same. I'm just going to straighten out this wire. I'm not too fussed about wire here. Yeah, but the idea is this is actually kind of working. I just don't want to have huge scars when I don't have to. So I'm just going to rewire this. And avoid the same grooves as before. Now you could probably use tie wires or something else, just smaller little bits of wire, but I just decided to use this because I wanted to bend the trunk and change its shape. So I'll just show you after I've done how it's not in the same place. I'm probably not as wiring as tightly, just so I can grow into it a bit more. So it's a kind of a cool experiment, especially if you've got lots of seedlings, which I do. Alright. So, all rewired. I could probably even put a few kinks in there, maybe at the top. Just change it up a bit. Create more interest. There you go. So, I'll come in close and show you. A bit blurry. But I've rewired it, and see there's a Y mark there. I haven't gone over that same one. And I haven't gone over this one as well. So I've just avoided it. So that should just hold in place. Hopefully grow out, grow stronger and grow up. And be a nice twisty trunk. But yeah, I'm going to leave it alone, let it grow again. Don't touch the roots at all. Let it fill that pot and really grow strongly. A couple other things that I did, which haven't really done really well, or haven't really finished, is I've done multiple, there's 3 there that I've just tied at the bottom with a piece of wire. And they haven't yet fused, so I'll just come in and show you that. Let's have a look. No, too blurry. I might change the camera. Let's see if I can move the camera around. Let's see if this works instead. No, still. No, hang on. All right, I think that might be better. Oops. So you can see how I've wired the base. The wire's not cutting in just yet, and the trunks haven't done a huge amount, but they're still pretty young seedlings. So let's have a look. So I've wired the base. I've got multiple. So I did this last year. I think because I've done touched their roots as well, it probably hasn't really helped. But yeah, I might actually separate them into separate pots now, and let them try and grow them on and thicken up as fast as I can. Alright, let me check some others. Alright, here again I've just grouped a few in the hope that I will be able to fuse them together. Oops. So they're just multiple, just trying to fuse multiple trunks together before I wire them and shape them. But that's not too bad, that one, but needs a few more, another year or so. I've got some small little groups here as well. So I didn't have enough pots last year to pot everything up, so I had to use the same pot. But they haven't really done a huge amount. I think they needed 2 or 3 years of good growing to really start and enhance and be better. Alright, so that's another option. There's some, just trying to fuse multiple trunks together and grow them together, rather than wiring them, just starting them at the base and just fusing them, just wiring them together at the base and just trying to grow them on. And here's an example of, I've let 2 3-year-old seedlings just run. And what happened is they got into the soil underneath and started pushing roots. And I'll show you that. So there's all roots coming out of the bottom of the pot, which is fine. We just take it out. It's like repotting. But this is a lot of nice, lots of seedlings here to play around with this year. And I'll probably do videos on how I'm going to try. I like the idea of trying to fuse them like this. I think this is really cool, interesting. Just to create a single tree, maybe with a nice movement, and maybe create some small mini little trident maples that are small and contorted and twisted, and really create some nice tight little minis rather than just straight fat little ones. I just want to create some interesting shapes, just having some nice unique little cascading or semi-cascading little maples. Like imagine this one on this angle, twisted, short little tree about that big, just with a little bit of foliage and nice twisted trunks. Just something cool and interesting. I do like the fusing the trunks together at the base, so I might do more of those, but it's more of I need to start to really fast grow these, so I might have to find some area in the garden or in the ground just to combine them and just let them grow in the ground a bit, or on a tile to spread out the roots. So but you see, don't be scared to grow seeds. I love growing them because there's always fun stuff to do with them, and actually it works. It actually works quite well in terms of growing trees from seedlings, especially if you're starting out. Don't be too scared, but it's a step-by-step process. So, these are the seedlings. You can do things like this, twisting them up. You can group things together and have multiples in. You can have multiples in, groups like that. But you got to give it time to develop. Now I'll show you the result of one that I did about 3 or 4 years ago now, where I've just put 3 together and let them grow, and you'll see the difference. I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, so here's the example I've got for you. Mind if you're the grass. But here's where you can see there's 3 trunks. So they're about finger thick. I've got fairly thick fingers. So that's a really fat one there, that's a smaller one there, and that's a third one in the back there. So you can see they're different angle. Well, they're different. There's 3 in one, and they're pretty much, the bases look really good and well fused together. So I'm going to have a nice little triple trunk there to work with, and it's just a massive foliage. Oh, that's just dead leaves from the figs, but nothing to look at there. It's really all we care about is this base. You know, this base is nicely fused together. I'll just take a little wander around. So that's what we want to try and get to with our, when I'm trying to fuse 3 trunks together or multiple trunks together. I mean, oh look, this is, maybe it would be nice to have another 1, 2, maybe a 5 trunk there, but it is a 3 trunk at the moment. So that's really nice, and that's what we're trying to get to when we're growing on trees. So that's in a slightly bigger pot that I just found and just left it in the garden, and it's been growing. So that's what we want to try and aim to get to with our fusing of our trunks. I thought I'd show you one more thing, which it's in my videos. This is where I took some seedlings and I put some bends in, put some wire on them and twist them up. They've actually grown quite well. They've actually, you really look actually some interesting bits. Some bits the bits are wide have actually slowed down, and the new bit has grown in its place. And there's some nice twisty ones over here. It's interesting because I find that the bits that I bent grew slowly, and then the offshoots have grown really fast. So for example, this one's gone right up, but I might have to separate these out into individual pots and start growing them on, the ones that are twisted. So again, it's another experiment I did last year, and I think it's a video I'll link to in this one, and I'll link the old one into this one so everyone can see how they have developed. Sorry about the grass, but again, this was left in the ground, and it's caught up. So this trunk here, a bit hard to show you, but the wire's starting to cut in, so it's actually grown really well, and would have some sort of bends in it, so it's good. So it's actually worked. I think it needs another year or so to really bend into that shape. So now's the time to separate these out and grow them individually and try and get some really good growth on them and move them along. So another successful little bit of experiment. Haven't really failed any experiments. They all seem to be working quite well, but they need just years to develop, or just more dedication in terms of growing these on. I've got other trees that I'm looking at rather than seedlings. These are things I just leave in the ground and let them go, or just keep watering them. Maybe if you keep feeding them, give them more light, give them more exposure, give them a better spot in the garden or something, more sunshine, you can probably grow them faster. But it is what it is, and my little experiments are working. So with seedlings, play around with them. You can do fused trunks, twist them up with wire, 3 trunks there together. You can do those multiples, and you saw the result of the multiple 3 trunk. You can do that, just give it time, or you can wire some up like this and create some interest. So always play around with seedlings, and they can actually produce good results in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video on seedlings and using them for bonsai. Okay, enjoy, see you next time.